Hello and welcome to another episode of Sports with Monga. A new launch, the big launch, the first big launch of 2023. Red Bull Racing has launched the RB19, and where would they do it? All the others doing their base factories in Europe, but then and Red Bull doing it in New York City with a lot of fanfare, with a lot of gala, with a lot of marketing events. US is definitely catching the eye for cross Formula One, and it's been a pretty good spot, right, for races, for 3 races almost announced. We've Austin, we have Miami, and then we have Vegas. So 3 races already on the Formula One calendar for in the US already announced. So it's a pretty good marketing event, also being done by a fizzy drink company as well. So that's kind of even that's even more commendable to see what they're doing or being able to kind of achieve there. But that's interesting to also kind of work. The anticipations are always there. It's Red Bull. The Red Bull is not being challenged by anybody other than Mercedes last season in 2022. They were the closest, but then they were really not the closest. They could close. Ferrari did kind of catch up in the first half of the season, but then Ferrari had their own niggles and issues that they had to deal with, which they couldn't. But then Red Bull was able to manage them really, really well and be able to kind of come out on the top still with winning the constructors at the Austin Grand Prix, and that's kind of in Austin as well, where the constructors championship was declared. It was a pretty historic moment as well after a lot of domination for Mercedes. Constructors championship going to Red Bull. But what was interesting about this launch, RB19 the spec is pretty similar. They had a lot of fanfare, a lot of fan designed cars, Mr. Doodle kind of featuring into that as well. I think they'll have different liveries as well. A lot of partners now as well added to Red Bull. But then the major thing, the car is still not 2023 spec, because you can tell it with the mirrors. In 2023, that's going to be the biggest difference. So any livery that you see in the new launches, which are still smaller, which is still small, looks small, that's the tell that it's not a 2023 car. It's a 2022 car with the new kind of changes aerodynamically that you cannot see because they're under chassis and it's in the floor. But then you can still see that the marketing representations kind of added on. So that's kind of something that you can tell right now. But then of course, Red Bull is the hunted team right now. Like, they are not the hunters anymore. They are the hunted team because they won the drivers championships twice in the back-to-back seasons. Constructors last season as well. So they are the reigning title defenders for 2023, and for Max Verstappen and Checo Perez to kind of hold on with Daniel Rick as a third driver. That's going to be interesting. All 3 of them were there along with other Red Bull athletes, like the skiing athletes and the snowboarding and the skateboard athletes as well at the launch. But RB19, it looks great. I don't think that's the car. Bahrain is not that far. It's 2 more weeks before the testing starts, and then we're not that far from the start of the season. It's about a month now. It's more than a month, but then this weekend in 1 month is when the Formula One season starts. It's 5th of March, like when the season starts in Bahrain, but then the testing will start in a couple of weeks' time as well. That'll be interesting to see, and that's where the real tests will come out and see how the car is, like who comes out first and how's the car kind of behaving. That's kind of the biggest thing in this. But then Red Bull kind of not hyping themselves up. They definitely want to kind of hype themselves down, and that's what they're doing. I don't know. I don't know if they're pretty successful doing that, but it seems that that's what the PR is going out. They're basically saying that we don't know, Mercedes would have done a good job. We still need to see. We're not there. We will have competition. I will be surprised if There is no competition, but I don't know, and I don't want to comment like how this will be, but they're the reigning world champions as well. So let's see how this goes. But then no more detail on the car. The livery looks pretty or same as 2022, so nothing completely different. Yeah, but majorly the other, that was the first announcement, but then the second announcement with the Red Bull powertrain, it now says Red Bull Ford powertrain 2026. That's the launch that's happened. And that's kind of the biggest news that came out. The Red Bull announced a new major partnership with Ford from 2026. The team revealed what it's 2023, John, the RB19. During this launch, the Ford company's CEO was there at the event. And it's almost seems after 20 years, Ford is back. It's Ford versus Ferrari. We all watched that movie, but it almost seems to be it's coming along. But then Ford is already beating Ferrari, but in 2026 it's still a little further away with regulation changes. But then this is a great partnership as well, because we know for a fact that Porsche's partnership collapsed with Red Bull because of the way the deal was structured and the power that Porsche wanted over over Red Bull, over decisions around maybe marketing, maybe team employment and management. This is the way we work. That didn't go well, but then Ford has got, I don't know how the deal has kind of constructed or has gone through. We're still waiting for details, but it was just launched. It was definitely it's a worst kept secret, but then it seems that the name itself, like Red Bull Ford powertrain, that itself tells you the power dynamics, how that's worked, how the deal has been structured. It definitely favors Red Bull a lot, but then it also allows Ford to get into a title winning team already in the new era and the new Adrian Newey era of aerodynamics and low drag and low downforce cars. What is going to be interesting is like how does 2026, like, because I think there is still a lot of Formula One is in pretty good shape right now with a lot of deals coming from Audi. There's still Andretti is being still talked about. Audi is still being talked about. Like they want to enter. They've already announced they want to enter. And I think with Sauber, so that's going to be interesting to how those deals kind of come along. A lot of good investments, a good hype around the US market. I think Formula One is doing pretty well. But it's going to be interesting to see how the season unfolds. It's just the launch, nothing more, nothing less. But then that's the first major launch. Like I'm still expect, we still have Ferrari, we still have Mercedes to kind of do their car reveals. And yeah, that we are excited to look how the teams look now, and how teams kind of come out with it, because it's something which is highly anticipated because the fanfare, because it immediately ends up with the bar end test, so you kind of immediately know where everybody is. So just for example, I'll be doing a video about Haas, and I'm trying to get into who, because there have been a lot of changes as well with the personnel, so I'll kind of get into that as well. But then Red Bull is pretty solid. Christian Horner is still the team principal. We have Daniel Ricciardo, third driver. We have Max Verstappen, the reigning world champion, as I would say the number one driver for Red Bull. And number two on the list is our Mexican Sergio Perez. Haas has already launched the car. I'll do a video maybe after this one on talking about it. With Gunther Steiner still there, but then a new lineup there. Kevin Magnussen with Nico Hulkenberg. But then I'll just get into that after in this the next video. We have a new launch on Monday from Williams. That's very interesting as well to me. Again, when we get into that, like James Vowles from Mercedes going into that. Then we have Alfa Romeo, Feb 7th, Alfa Tauri, Feb 13th, Aston Martin 13th, McLaren 13th. Ferrari, it has to be the Valentine's Day. They have to do it on the Valentine's as well. So it's Feb 14th. Beautiful. Mercedes for Feb 15th and Alpine Feb 16th. But yeah, let me know how you think about the Red Bull season. What are your predictions there? Like, do you feel that Checo Perez can actually make Max Verstappen sweat a little? Or, well, who never knows? Who knows? At the end of 2023, we have Daniel Ricciardo coming back into the car for 2024. That'll be very interesting to see. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. do like this video, do share, and do subscribe. And catch you in the next one.